Her scream sliced through the air, raw and unrestrained, echoing against the glass walls of the lobby. Cold droplets streaked down her face, clinging to her lashes, seeping into the fabric of her dress until it clung to her skin like a second, icy layer. The water bottle tilted further, its stream relentless, while two uniformed officers stood in the corner, not moving, not speaking, just watching. Her hands hovered in the air, palms open, as though surrendering to a crime she never committed. The woman standing over her had a smile so wide it looked carved into place, her knuckles white as she gripped the plastic bottle. Before we continue, if you're watching us for the first time, Elliot Stories welcomes you with a warm hug. We bring you true-to-life stories that keep your heart racing and your mind thinking. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. And hey, drop a comment telling us the city you're watching from. We'd love to know how far this story travels. It had started as an ordinary Tuesday morning, ordinary in the way only the city's elite could define it. The marble floors of Whitmore Tower gleamed like a mirror, catching the heels of power-walking executives. Receptionists offered polite smiles as familiar faces strode past, coffee cups in hand, Bluetooth earpieces glowing faintly. But somewhere between the first latte of the day and the boardroom's oak double doors, the air shifted. Maya, who had been working in this building for just under 2 months, knew the rhythm of the lobby by heart. Every morning, she arranged the fresh flowers at the desk, updated the appointment list, and ensured no visitor left without a courteous farewell. It was the kind of job that demanded perfection, her every movement calculated to avoid drawing the wrong kind of attention. But that day, attention found her. It began with a shadow falling across her desk. She looked up to see a tall woman in an elegant black dress, her hair perfectly styled, a diamond bracelet winking on her wrist. She didn't smile. She didn't even greet Maya. She simply stared, her gaze trailing over Maya's face and lingering, as though searching for something to dislike. "You," she finally said, the word sharp enough to cut. "Come with me." Maya hesitated. "I'm sorry, but I..." "Now." The tone was not one of suggestion. The security officers nearby exchanged a glance but said nothing. Maya followed, her footsteps soft against the polished floor. The woman led her to an open area near the elevators, an odd choice, considering the number of eyes that could witness whatever was about to happen. A bottle of water sat on the marble table beside them. Without warning, the woman grabbed it. What happened next felt like a dream, except Maya was wide awake. Ice-cold water cascaded over her head, soaking her hair, her blouse, her dignity. She gasped, her voice catching on the edge of shock and outrage, but the water kept coming, spilling over her hands and pooling on the floor. The onlookers didn't move. The officers didn't step forward. And Maya realized in that moment that this wasn't about water, it was about power. "You thought you could get away with it, didn't you?" the woman hissed, though the accusation made no sense. "People like you never learn." Maya's mind raced. She didn't know this woman. She hadn't spoken to her before. But something in her eyes, a blend of triumph and malice, said this was deeply personal. As the cold seeped into her bones, memories of the last 2 weeks flashed through Maya's mind. A misplaced file, a missed call, a strange look from one of the executives she didn't recognize. There had been whispers, quick glances exchanged behind her back. She'd shrugged them off. Now she wondered if she'd been walking blind into something much bigger. When the bottle finally emptied, the woman stepped back, breathing hard as though she'd run a race. The silence in the lobby was thick, heavy. A bead of water rolled from Maya's chin to her lap, and the sound of it hitting the floor was almost deafening. The woman smirked, turned on her heel, and walked away. The officers followed her without a word. Maya remained seated, trembling, not from the cold, but from the sudden, terrifying realization that she was in trouble she couldn't yet name. She could feel the stares burning into her, each one asking the same unspoken question, "What did you do?" But the truth was, she didn't know. She gathered herself slowly, rising from the chair, her wet dress clinging awkwardly. Someone from the reception desk offered her a paper towel. She took it, muttering a quiet thanks, though she knew it would do little to dry her or erase the humiliation. She tried to return to her post, but the weight in the air told her the day had already changed course. The whispers started again, more urgent this time. Phones buzzed with texts she couldn't see. Somewhere in the distance, the elevator doors slid open with a ding. Out stepped a man whose presence immediately shifted the room. His suit was tailored, his stride unhurried, but his eyes swept the scene with precision. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the hum of the building seemed to pause. Maya didn't know him, but instinct told her he wasn't just another executive. He was someone who mattered. And when his gaze fell on her, drenched, shivering, clutching a useless paper towel, something unreadable crossed his face. He turned to the nearest officer and asked a single question, his voice low but steady. The answer made his jaw tighten. And then, with a measured breath, he started walking, not toward his office, not toward the elevators, but directly toward Maya. The man stopped a few feet in front of Maya, his eyes scanning her from head to toe. For a brief second, his gaze softened, just enough to betray that beneath the polished suit and corporate aura, he was a man registering both anger and something else, empathy. "Maya, isn't it?" His voice was calm, but each word carried an edge that silenced the entire lobby. She nodded slowly, unsure how he knew her name. "I'm Daniel Whitmore," he said, the name settling heavily in the air. It clicked instantly. Whitmore Tower. Whitmore Enterprises. He wasn't just someone important, he was the CEO, the man whose signature could change careers overnight. And, she realized with a jolt, the man whose face she'd seen in framed photos on the executive floor, always beside the woman in the black dress. "My office," he said quietly, but it was an instruction no one dared question. Maya followed him through the hushed corridors, leaving behind the murmurs of onlookers. The secretary outside his office opened the door without a word. Inside, the space was breathtaking, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the skyline, polished mahogany desk, and shelves lined with awards. But Maya barely registered it. Her dress clung to her skin, her teeth chattered slightly, and she could feel her pulse in her ears. Daniel walked around his desk, but instead of sitting, he leaned against it, arms crossed. "Tell me exactly what happened out there." Maya hesitated, then recounted every detail. The sudden summons, the woman's cold stare, the unprovoked pouring of water, the words about people like you. She left nothing out. When she finished, Daniel was silent for a long time. Then, without looking at her, he picked up his phone and pressed a button. "Get them all in here," he said. "Now." Within minutes, the door opened and in walked the woman in the black dress, still poised, still wearing that faint, defiant smile, followed by the two officers who had stood idly by. Maya's stomach clenched. Daniel's gaze locked on the woman. "Claire." His voice was cold now, stripped of any warmth. "Care to explain why you just assaulted one of my employees in full view of security and half the staff?" Claire's smile faltered for the first time. "She's lying," she snapped, shooting Maya a glare. "I was teaching her a lesson. People like her. People like her." Daniel's voice thundered now, and the room seemed to shrink under its weight. "You mean a woman who shows up early every day, does her job with grace, and treats everyone in this building with respect? People like that?" Claire's cheeks flushed, but she said nothing. The officers shifted uncomfortably. Daniel straightened. "Let me make this perfectly clear. I don't tolerate abuse. I don't tolerate humiliation. And I sure as hell don't tolerate prejudice under my roof." He turned to the officers. "You had the authority to intervene, and you didn't. Hand in your badges. You're done here." Both men's eyes widened, but they didn't argue. They removed their badges, placing them quietly on the edge of his desk. Then Daniel looked at Claire, his voice low but venomous. "As for you, get out. My lawyers will be in touch." For the first time, Maya saw fear in Claire's eyes. But she didn't protest. She simply turned and walked out, her heels clicking against the polished floor, the sound fading down the hall. When the door closed, silence settled over the office. Daniel's shoulders dropped slightly, and he let out a slow breath. Then he looked at Maya. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "No one should have to go through what you just did, not here, not anywhere." Maya swallowed hard. "Thank you," she managed. I don't even know why she." "You don't need to," Daniel interrupted gently. "Some people carry poison in them. It spills out sooner or later." He walked to a cabinet, pulled out a clean company-branded sweater, and handed it to her. "Go home for the day. You'll still be paid. And when you come back tomorrow, I want you to walk in here knowing you belong here. No one gets to take that from you." Maya slipped on the sweater, the warmth a stark contrast to the icy humiliation she'd felt moments before. For the first time that morning, she allowed herself to breathe deeply. As she left his office, the weight on her chest felt lighter. But she also knew this was more than just one man's defense. It was a moment that would ripple through the building. People had seen her humiliated, yes, but they'd also seen her defended, respected, and restored. Down in the lobby, the whispers had shifted. They weren't about what she had done anymore. They were about what had been done for her. That night, as Maya sat at her small kitchen table with a cup of tea, she thought about Daniel's words. Some people carry poison in them. But she realized something else: some people carry light. And it only takes one of them to walk into the room to change everything. Moral lesson: no matter how much power or influence someone holds, it does not give them the right to demean others. Dignity and respect are not privileges, they're basic human rights. Standing up for what's right, especially when it's uncomfortable, can not only change one person's day but can shift the culture of an entire environment. Encouraging word from Elliot's stories. Friends, the world is full of both darkness and light. You might encounter moments where someone tries to strip away your worth or make you feel small. But remember this: your value isn't decided by their actions, it's rooted in who you are. Stand tall, keep your integrity, and trust that there will always be people willing to defend what's right. And if you're in a position to be that defender, be it boldly. Your courage might just be the turning point in someone else's story.